Welcome, everyone. This is your friend, the DN What If, here with another exciting fanfiction. Today, we're diving into the story of What If Deku Became the Spark in a Silent World? If you enjoy this video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more fanfiction content just like this. Now, let's get started with the fanfic. In response to the growing amount of villains, the government enacted the Anti-Quirk Act. All quirks were to be used solely in the privacy of homes, unless otherwise authorized. Independent agencies and pro-heroes were fined unless they were complacent and let themselves be absorbed into the overhaul system, a government-controlled system of quirk users for the safety of the public. And then, suddenly, there was no longer a line drawn between heroes and villains. Both were prosecuted without remorse, without mercy. When heroes began disappearing, the overwhelming public outrage had no effect. When quirkless children began to disappear, there was no rage left. Detectives were paid off or let go. Reports were misplaced. They stopped caring. There were only whispers of a dark league that sank its claws into the system. Are you sure? Inko's voice trembles and she's terrified, holding the baby even closer and places her free hand over her large belly. Are you really willing to leave Katsuki behind? Her best friend looks tired but she's dressed for war, geared to the teeth. Mitsuki's glassy eyes burn, but she still smiles like a wolf. Someone has to create the diversion for Toshinori. Masaru and a broken sob chokes her for a split second. Well, we are quite the explosive couple. Inko uses all her power to still her legs from giving out, but the tears run freely. Toshinori hovers behind her, giving her support. The apartment is empty of his things and instead replaced by memories of the Bakugu family. The crib they had purchased, piles of photo albums, clothing Mitsuki bought for him. Masaru leaves behind a silver wristwatch for Katsuki to receive when he's old enough, along with a letter. Mitsuki pulls her into her arms, careful for the children and the weapons on her belt. I know, baby. Don't worry about anything. We filed you as Katsuki's legal guardian in case something like this were to happen. All of our savings are in the account I gave you. I know you'll take good care of him, along with that cute lil bean you got waiting to pop out any day. I'll keep them safe, I swear it. Inko whispers. She raises a hand to push back some of the wild strands in Mitsuki's hair. He'll know you both. And when you meet him, you can tell him more yourself. Mitsuki kisses her forehead. I owe you more than I can ever repay you. Her voice is soft, my most precious friend. She turns towards her baby. By squirt, I hope you're as sweet as your daddy or you might give Inko a heart attack. She kisses Katsuki's forehead with a smile, her cheeks wet, before pulling away. Masaru follows in his wife's steps, throwing his arms around Inko. Thank you. I know Katsuki is in good hands. He kisses her cheek before caressing Katsuki. Oh my baby boy, be good for Inko. Be strong. I hope you forgive us one day. Let's move, Masaru. Mitsuki calls with hard eyes but she cracks a smile. Maybe prison won't be so bad. Toshinori kisses her gently as the footsteps outside disappear but it does nothing for her tears. She hits him again and again. Is it worth it, you foolish, foolish man? I'm sorry, Inko. There's no point in telling her because she already knows. He catches her hands and kisses them each. I love you. I only ask you to remember the people I told you about. Nana Shimura, Gran Torino, Chiyo Shizenji, Shoyuta Aizawa. If you need them, they are there for you. Toshinori kneels, places both large hands on her belly, and leans forward to press his forehead against her. Listen to your mother. I want you to know that I have loved you since before and nothing can ever change that. He stands and brushes his knuckles against the child in her arms. Live well, young Katsuki. I'll see you again. A promise with another kiss and Toshinori gives her a wide grin. He leaves her with a heavy heart and a sliver of hope. On the morning of July 15th, the anti-hero HQ in Tokyo is attacked. An explosion triggered by a group of terrorist-classed heroes leaves an empty building blown to pieces but no deaths are reported and the names of the rebels are redacted. No information of whether they were killed in action or arrested is given to the public. The headlines cause a moment of silence across a hurting country. The once pro-hero All Might, the symbol of peace, is captured and subdued. That afternoon, Inko screams her voice hoarse in a small hospital room. She screams until her lungs burn. They blame it on the birth, but Izuku is quick, uncomplicated. He's quiet, watching the world in wonder. When they pass him to her, he looks at her with light eyes like he wants to tell her, "I'm here now, it's okay." He looks nothing like his father and she finds a small relief in that. The nurse holding Katsuki gives her a pitiful smile. "Do you have anyone I can call for you?" "Mitsuki." "Tashinori." She only holds out her arm for Katsuki and shakes her head. "No, there's no one left." And yet, Shoyuta stands hesitantly at the door, weathering a cringe-worthy grin and flowers. The nurses look at each other with raised eyebrows but say nothing, excusing themselves. The moment the door shuts behind him, his expression melts to a somber one and he sinks into a respectful bow. "I'm sorry, He clears his throat. "Nana realized we had a bug too late, we couldn't pull them back. I only caught the tail end of the fight, but we don't know what happened to the majority of the mission. The Bakugas set off the bombs on time but their comms were interrupted. Yamada was arrested shortly after. All Might gave himself up to give the rest of us a chance to run. I'm sorry I couldn't do more." He looks more like the 16-year-old boy he tries not to be, and that squeezes her heart a little tighter. "I should have done something, you shouldn't be alone." She smiles at him and says, "Do you have somewhere safe to stay?" "I'm, posted at the underground in this area." He pauses before pulling a chair to the side of her bed. "Nana offered me her home, she just can't file any paperwork. I wouldn't ask you to give up your name but you are in the system. Toshi wouldn't want you being at risk and Nana can get the papers for us." She tucks Katsuki beside her and reaches for Shuta's hand. He grasps it just as tightly. "You could be a nephew or a cousin, but you would be safe in name. Especially if you dye your hair a similar shade of green. All Might wouldn't want you to go through this trouble. I wouldn't forgive myself if something happened to you three." His expression pinches and his eyes are half glassy, looking at the children in her arms. The ribbon-like bandages peek under the school uniform and she already knows his goggles are at the bottom of his backpack. "Tashinori," Inko says pointedly, "would not want you putting yourself at risk and he would agree with the choices I make. He gave me your name if I needed something and as it appears, I need someone to help me. Even if I have to protect these two children alone in a world run by villains, I would never hesitate to offer you my protection." His shoulders drop and he nods, reluctantly. He would have made an amazing hero, she muses, even with the dark circles under his eyes and prickly exterior. Someone who would have inspired greatness. "Then tell me, Shoyuta Midoriya, how well you can manipulate those bandages you wear and can we manage to forge it as your new quirk? The Anti-Hero Association is offering a large monetary reward for information that leads to the capture of these known terrorists." Crimson Riot. Shoyuta Aizawa to raise her head. Sekijiro can Vlad King. Namuri Kiyama Midnight. Sir Knighted. Hisashi Yamada, Present Mike. They are suspected to be involved in the underground group rooted at UA after the school was shut down for the safety of the public. After attacking our headquarters and other locations previously, we would like to see justice brought down on those who believe the rules do not apply to them. We have reason to believe the majority of these terrorists are underage and illegally teaching quirk usage. Last known location, Mizudafu, Japan. If you or a loved one have been confirmed to be quirkless, you are entitled to the many benefits provided by the Anti-Hero Association. We offers monetary rewards for your service to our expanding healthcare projects, along with private academies for education, a free access clinic, and a stipend during your time with us. The man on the commercial keeps smiling and Inko learns to hate him. They agree to stay in the single-bedroom apartment until Izuku and Katsuki are older. It would be too sudden, too suspicious to look for a bigger one. She has no real answers about the money in her account and Inko would never push the paperwork any farther than she needs. Instead, she moves her small desk into the living room and Shoyuta manages to fit the two cribs into her bedroom, shoving her queen-sized mattress against the wall to offer more walking space. He takes to sleeping on her small couch even after she offers the bed multiple times. Shoyuta just shakes his head and accepts the yellow tacky sleeping bag she found in her closet like a precious treasure. Shuta's height booms that same summer and he refuses to let her buy him new clothes with her money until she grabs him by the ear, shoves the baby bag into his arms, and pulls out the twin stroller. She has never had much experience as being motherly. Her own mother was far more detached, a hero buried with greatest honor of dying during her service. Inko is only 27 and has never even been legally married, with 2 children claimed as her own. But she knows has a certain softness that makes Shoyuta turn his head with a yearning look. She loves him as much as he lets her. Izuku and Katsuki are another issue. Izuku is almost too quiet, but he cries often enough that Inko jokes he's already a crybaby like her. Katsuki is the opposite, loud and yells every night around the same time. They're surprisingly inseparable, only months old, and already developed a strange attachment she doesn't understand until she sees Katsuki's face curl into dismay when she pulls Izuku away for a bath. It's much too reminiscent to Mitsuki's overwhelming protectiveness towards her, and Shoyuta watches them with weary eyes while she throws up her dinner. They fall into an easy rhythm. Shoyuta cares for them during the morning hours, and Inko takes the late nights. Milk bottles are always prepared in the fridge, and Inko teaches him how to change diapers, how warm the milk should be, how to burp them. He takes everything in stride with a straight face and only blushes with embarrassment the first few times Inko catches him making silly faces at them. Inko always takes the kids out on strolls through the park after breakfast, and occasionally, Shoyuta tags along. They avoid officers and watch for people who look at them too closely. The resistance is quiet. When the summer ends, Shoyuta transfers to a public school an hour away by train where no one really recognizes his pinched facial expressions and the white bandages he carries. He managed to find the perfect dark shade of green, but the contacts are impossible to maintain with his chronic dryness. She always has a small breakfast ready for him before falling back asleep, even on the harder nights where Izuku has a small fever or Katsuki won't stop crying. Shoyuta comes straight home every day and watches the news, hoping for a sign. At midnight, on November 3rd, she finds him stumbling around the kitchen, reeking of alcohol. He's 17 now and smiles with all teeth when he sees her. She takes in his puffy red eyes and pulls him into her arms. They collapse to the floor, Shoyuta sobbing quietly into her shoulder. Inko soothes a hand over his head, wishing it was a different time. "I miss them so much," he whispers. "Hisashi has always been by my side. We were going to be heroes together. He was annoying and loud, but he's my best friend. And All Might isn't around anymore. God, I don't even know if Kamaya made it out. There was only a few of the US left in UA that stayed when everything was going to sheet. We joined the fight, 'cause it was the right thing to do, but it's been months since Nana received a message from her or anyone else." Shoyuta, Inko coos like she does when Izuku gets antsy. "It's going to be alright. I'm here now. I'm going to keep you safe, just like All Might would, alright? We're going to work together to be strong because that's our great power." She smiles, eerily close to the grin Toshinori wears. "The strength and the bonds we share with others keep us standing tall, so you can't give up. They need you to believe in them just like they believe in you." Shoyuta cries himself asleep, and she struggles to carry him to his favorite spot on the couch, but she manages it. She takes one look at the sleeping bag tucked neatly aside before kissing his forehead and tucks it under his head as a pillow. He looks so much younger and he's wasting away, waiting for a call that might never happen. Quirks lies unused and he thinks she doesn't know about the food he doesn't eat or the few hours he actually sleeps. Shoyuta is standing on a very line of keeping himself functioning to be of use and letting the pressure sink into his bones until he no longer can move forward. Katsuki babbles quietly from the room. She swallows. Inko was never a hero. Her quirk would never have been practical in the field. The pull has a small range and the weight of the object can only be so heavy. She knows nothing about being one, not really. She never learned the ideals, the rules. She doesn't know how to save someone. Yet she knows Shoyuta is drowning in his sorrow and she should have noticed earlier. Izuku and Katsuki take up the majority of her attention, but she should have seen the weight on his shoulders. Inko knows sadness and loss and what growing up is like. She doesn't think she's wise or brilliant, she simply knows what it's like to be lost. She's seen heroes who are stronger, faster. Heroes with unimaginable strength or unbreakable bodies. Heroes who achieved the impossible. But Inko, well, she's very good at persevering. So she sets her shoulders straight and stands. Nana once joked about gifting Toshinori the manuals, textbooks, and workbooks she had laying around, and joked about having him re-educated. Inko chews at her lip and looks at her phone. Her finger hovers over the name and she looks at Shoyuta one more time. Their little makeshift family will only take him so far. He's just a kid who grew up wanting to be a hero before it was ripped abruptly away so fast. He's still feeling the whiplash. He needs more. He needs a teacher. And she's more than willing to do it for him. She presses the call button. We aren't anti-Quirk, we are exactly as our name presents. We don't believe the previously established heroes were doing us any good. Maybe other countries don't agree, but the work we've accomplished, crime is almost non-existent. Our taxes are being put to better use than paying the lucky few who were born with favorable quirks to do jobs we already have. The screen doesn't turn towards him, but the smile is evident in his voice. So now we're focused on helping those who weren't as lucky by giving them the opportunity to work for us. Thank you, Sensei. The host nods understandingly. As you all might have heard, the Anti-Hero Association is currently recruiting quirkless. If you want to make a difference, regardless of your quirk status, give them a call. They've already developed an amazing system that tracks dangerous quirks. It was put into beta last week, and they've already managed to shut down several criminal organizations that the pro-heroes failed to during their time. So far, all of the hero schools have been shut down. When UA closed their doors, the public cried out in outrage. Other schools resisted, but they eventually followed suit. The last high school, Shiketsu, has finally managed to transfer their students to other public academies. Their hero courses were shut down a few years ago, but the school had since then stayed active, offering the student the general courses while the administration tried to spread out their students in the area. The news anchor says, since the closing of these institutions, we've had a decrease in destruction of public property and crimes reported have been the lowest in decades. The man beside her nods. It's truly revolutionary. The anti-hero organization has finally released some information about their new project, the League of the Virtuous. They're hoping to establish the upcoming organization as the new public defense against illegal quirk usage. Their experimental agents so far have made several significant arrests, including Sir Night Eye. When Inko opens the front door at 5 in the morning, Nana stands tall with shaky hands and deep circles under her eyes, effortlessly holding an oversized box. It's filled to the brim with textbooks and piles of worksheets. You'll be putting yourself at a huge risk. Nana speaks soft and low. I cannot protect you if you accept this. Shoyuta is still asleep in the living room behind her. Inko steps forward, reaching for the books. This is something worth risking. He's just a boy, Nana. What are we supposed to do? Tell him to forget his instincts? Pretend that everything is okay and all the heroes he looked up to just disappeared for nothing. Nana flinches. That's not what I meant. It's foolish and irresponsible for you to do this. You have 2 children. 3. Her eyes narrow and a small snarl forms on her lips. Nana blinks in surprise but continues. 2 toddlers then. They lose you, then what? They'll be left on their own. And what about Izuku? Toshinori was quirkless, and your quirk probably isn't very dominate. Nana speaks with a confidence that makes Inko step back with her own wince. Chances are Izuku will be quirkless and they will take him. Inko chokes. I'm going to protect them. I will do what I have to, but I will not leave Shoyuta untrained when it's the only thing he ever knew. She breathes and says quieter, you can think me a fool, but I will not change my mind. The box feels like another burden when Nana sighs and settles it into her arms. She leans against the doorway, patting Inko's cheek. I can see what Toshi loves about you. You would have made an amazing hero with that amount of conviction. Inko does not cry. She breathes deeply and shifts the weight of box onto her chest. Thank you. Let me know if you need anything else. Nana smiles sadly. Gran Torino was a wonderful teacher once. Inko pushes the box deep into her closet, grabbing a few textbooks first. titles ranging from Theory of Ethics and The Hero Within. Izuku watches her from his crib with wide eyes and a curious look while Katsuki still sleeps. She blows him a kiss. "Your mother will be working very hard, Aizu." She coos with a watery smile. She's going to be training a hero. He laughs, clapping his hands and letting out a high-pitched squeal. "That's right. Maybe you'll be a hero too, just like your daddy. Strong and mighty, with a lot of heart." She winks and Katsuki babbles awake, blinking sleepily and confused when she turns to him, tapping his nose, and Katsuki too. So big and strong. The toddlers watch her carefully as she lifts them each and lay them on the bed with her. Katsuki sits up and reaches for one of the books. "Oh, you want to read already? All right. You can read that one and I'll read this one out loud for you both." She sets the book that grabbed his attention in front of him and grabs the first textbook. Morality of Heroism. That's really important to know. The lines between right and wrong aren't always very clear. Not every hero will be right every time, but you strive to do the best you can in every situation. Izuku stares at her in awe and she smiles his brow in Katsuki's cheek. As long as you always try to do right by others, you can be a hero. Even if it's not with superpowers, you can change someone's life. Izuku and Katsuki babble at each other and she laughs. She doesn't hear Shoyuta take a seat outside her room, leaning his head back against the wall, listening to her voice. The next few days are tiring. She reads through the texts, highlighting and marking pages she needs. She plans out workout routines for Shoyuta to do in the early mornings when no one's awake and he returns home more relaxed. His appetite grows by a margin and she hides a smile when he finishes 2 helpings of dinner. She marks specific chapters through the workbooks to finish and he writes her an analysis on different articles she assigns him. They discuss the meaning of heroism over dinner, argue over morality and what should be done in different hypothetical situations. He works at his quirk on her around the house, as she pushes past the weariness that her quirk usage sets in her bones. Katsuki even screamed in horror the first time Shuta's hair rose and his eyes glowed red, but Izuku surprisingly laughed instead, reaching for Shoyuta to pick him up. Inko giggled and Shoyuta rolled his eyes, picking up the small boy while cooing at Katsuki to calm him. Her own quirk doesn't really grow, she didn't expect it to. But it's easier to use for longer PRDS of time, keeping small objects floating around her longer, entertaining the children trying to reach them. Shuta's eyes get drier but he starts to smile easier. Nana calls for updates and Gran Torino only responds in short messages, mostly specific lines in chapters or books that take her a few days to figure out. Unfortunately, she can't watch him train just yet. She trusts him to do the workouts as she steadily increases the sets or duration. They're lighter versions of the routine she watched Toshinori do for years, with a large focus on cardio. Izuku and Katsuki would bring too much attention to them and they want to remain out of sight. Shoyuta doesn't ask her to either. He continues his duty in changing their diapers and feeds them before his morning sessions. Everything is silent on the frontier and Nana only sighs with a heavy heart when Shoyuta asks. The months go by and there's no word on the missing pro-heroes. Shoyuta studies the same books she reads, his complexion grows brighter, and his quirk climbs to the best it can be. They wait for the other shoe to drop. "Have you heard from Crimson?" Nana asks, cracking her knuckles, her mouth bloodied. Gran Torino scrunches up his nose as he snaps it back into place. He's still in Seoul with Kamaya. The Korean Hero Association is keeping them under wraps until things settle with the media. He looks at her sharply. "You have not told the young Aizawa?" Shoyuta does not need to concern himself just yet. He can be just as reckless. He'll demand to join the resistance as he has been asking since the incident. "We want him safe and Inko needs the extra protection anyways." She spits another mouthful of blood. These guys really pack a punch. The retired pro-hero Ingenium has joined the ranks of safety consultant, along with other ex-heroes in an effort to create a bridge between the anti-hero organization and the previous hero-based departments. With the League of the Virtuous being established officially in the next few weeks after the last 2 years battling it in the courts and keeping our streets safe, the founders would love to invite all retired pro-heroes to join. The news anchor smiles. We also hear Endeavor will be joining their ranks as well, but as a member of the board. We expect great things from them. HO has also just released several new research papers on quirklessness and a possible DNA strand that might lead to different quirks. Their scientists are working hard and we will be seeing huge strides in the field. Shoyuta graduates the week before Izuku turns 2 and Inko feels something akin to fear. His personal training is going without a hitch. The gym near the apartment lets him use their equipment and Inko occasionally gets to coach him while the kids entertain themselves in the playpen. The clearing nearby is looking like a reasonable area to practice quirks on a larger scale and she files it away to tell him later. They haven't spoken about his plans for after, but she's uncertain if he'll even stay. Especially when Nana and Gran Torino end up on her doorstep the day after with seemingly well-timed news. Nana finally confesses that the majority of the active heroes who refused to sign their retirement had fled to Korea, China, and Europe, along with other countries with heroes. Including the location of some interns that Shoyuta recognizes and his face lights up. The breath of relief that Shoyuta lets out when Nana mentions Kiyama makes Inko ache for an end that won't come fast enough. Torino mentions the small team of interns they called the Pussycats being stationed in the Ural Mountains to work with the Russian rescue teams and Tensei Ida is safe under his father's retirement. Shoyuta winces, and the class before ours? Like, Nishiya and Fukukado? Izuku squeals, Kaken, as Katsuki tackles him with the stuffed bear and they tumble around on the carpet, surrounded by animals and toy blocks. Nana hesitates but she clears her throat. They've been moved to normal schools like yours, but I can't tell you exactly where. They didn't need special treatment since they never received a license and operated under heroes unlike you, Kamaya, Yamada, and Ida. Is there any news about him? The look of anguish that passes over his face makes the two ex-hero look away, choosing to look at the children. I'm sorry. We haven't received any news from inside the organization and it's been 2 years. It's best to not dwell on the past. Nana passes her eyes over Inko who doesn't look at her. Sho. Izuku jumps into Shuta's lap. Save me. His arms jump around the older boy's neck. Shoyuta grunts with the impact and tightens his own arms around the child. What's wrong, Izuku? He asks as Katsuki quietly crawls around the couch. Izuku gives him wide eyes, Kaken dwagon, and points at Katsuki who pops his head over the arm. He jumps to his feet and roars and Izuku giggles, Kaken not a dwagon. He doggy. Katsuki's expression twists into something close to offended and Inko hides back a smile as she blinks back the tears. Zuno, I'm a dragon. Shoyuta laughs and blows a raspberry on Izuku's cheek. Go chase the dragon, Izuku. He screams and devolves into giggles, jumping to his feet and races after Katsuki who screams. They're good boys. Nana smiles. You're good with them too. He'd make a great teacher. Inko says and points at the drawings she hung up on the fridge. Several of them are 4 people-looking scribbles with a lot of greens and reds. He's teaching them to draw nowadays. Gran Torino tilts his head. And you're training? Well enough for being self-taught. He smirks, lazy. Something shifts in his position that Inko barely notices, but his eyes turn cold. Is that all you've come for? Nana leans back against the chair. No. But it was the best start we have. She turns to Gran Torino who says nothing. Now that you've graduated, we wanted to offer you a spot in one of the international teams. Heroes might no longer be operational here, but there is a whole world left for you to explore. You've always been established as an underground hero. We thought it best for you to join the covert operations abroad. Inko knows Gran Torino is keeping his eyes on her as she makes no motion to reject the idea. She doesn't even breath when Shoyuta looks at her. She just smiles but she's not sure if she's crying. He shakes his head. No. That throws Nana off, her shoulders tense. Are you certain? You'd receive world-class training from the best of the best. He tenses his jaw in the way Inko has grown to associate with his annoyance. No. I'm not leaving Japan. I'm willing to go abroad occasionally, maybe to help with a mission. But I'll only operate from here. Gran Torino cuts in before Nana can speak. You understand that this offer only applies right here and now? You will never be invited to join their permanent ranks again. You will only be called if there is no one else. Yes. Shoyuta stares him down. Understood. Then you will be removed from their recommendations. Gran Torino nods and Nana takes a deep breath. All Might was your sponsor for the position. We are simply following his wishes. I know. That startles Torino, who raises an eyebrow. He told me it's my decision when I'm old enough. That I'd make the right choice and he'd support it no matter what. Inko reaches for his shoulder and he breathes easy with a smile. He places a hand over hers. I'll keep training here. Give me at least 2 more years, Inko promises, and I will find you a real teacher. Nana doesn't say anything about the smile Inko gives. She knows it's supposed to be comforting, but even coming from the smaller woman, it's close to something from a nightmare, sharp and dangerous. She forces her body not to react, and Gran Torino does actually curl into a defensive position, just barely. Their shoulders tighten and their expressions pinch in confusion. Shoyuta just gives them the same smile. Lying to them won't protect them. Gran Torino says quietly after. Nana grunts and punches the wall hard. The concrete gives and the cracks spread far. He watches her. We say nothing until Sir Night Eye contacts us again. She sighs. If we tell them about the experiments, we have no way of telling what they will do. Inko may not be a threat, but Shoyuta is too reckless, too childish. He might just go in guns blazing. You have very little faith in him. It's not that. We need him elsewhere. Paris, Seoul, Sydney. He needs training to be of use. She stands straighter and grabs the paperwork on the desk. The symbol of the anti-Quirk organization is stamped across the cover. Gran Torino grabs her arm and shows his teeth. Do not underestimate a mother protecting her children. You say he needs training, but that boy holds himself like he's ready for war. Whatever Inko is doing, he will not be so easily fooled. On the 4th anniversary of All Might's arrest, at exactly 7 a.m., a radio station comes alive between the static. This is Crimson Riot. To all the heroes out there, waiting for what comes next. Remember, we have always been here. We are always watching. And we will always protect. That's what it means to be a hero. A female voice cuts in with a laugh. There will be a day where heroes do rise again. There's an obvious smile in her words, plus ultra. The year after Shoyuta Midoriya graduates high school, he buries himself in whatever work comes his way. He accepts any missions Torino assigns him, any opportunity to grasp information about anyone, really. He takes missions overseas, too. 4 weeks at a time, he disappears and Inko is left watching the news, waiting for the worst. But he always comes home. With whatever the resistance, Nana refers to already spread thin, the villains are quieter, and she's sure they're biding their time, just like everyone else. Waiting for the smoke to settle, for whatever laws the politicians are pushing to come into play. The Anti-Quirk Act was tweaked back and forth between the different parties. They added clauses about passive and active quirks, vigilantism, heroism. Inko kept her head down, her quirk wasn't anything impressive, and Shuta's was much more subtle. The biggest problem was Katsuki. Before turning 4, his fingers were already letting off sparks. The first time it happens is at the small park behind their apartment building. Her boys come screaming with wide smiles as she looks from her textbook. Kazan! Look! Katsuki jumps up and down. Izuku vibrates with excitement beside him. The blonde boy holds out his hands and lets out small sparks, mini explosion. Inko blinks in surprise. Mitsuki's quirk was used often in explosions with Masaru's sweat, but she didn't realize that Katsuki would have explosives. The oncoming headache does not waver her smile though. That's amazing, baby. He's safer, at least, but Izuku is quickly approaching 4 years old with nothing to show for it. Katsuki. Inko smiles softly and Katsuki looks up at her with so much adoration that tightens her chest. You have to promise to watch Izuku for me, okay? Izuku laughs. No, Kazan, I'll watch Kaken too. She gives him a smile and blows them both a kiss, ushering them to go play again. Katsuki will no doubt be flashy, she wouldn't expect anything less of Mitsuki's son. Yet, that might put him in just as much trouble. It's not as easy to hide in plain sight if you're too memorable, and she has a feeling that he's going to be exactly that. Katsuki is mandatorily registered with his quirk the week after by a government-certified doctor who compares his sweat to nitroglycerin, and Shoyuta carries Izuku around the small clinic who only watches in quiet awe. Later that night, Katsuki sets the carpet on fire just because Izuku wanted to see his quirk again. Shoyuta sighs so deeply that both boys start to cry almost immediately. Inko squeaks, picking each of them up in one arm, while the small fire flares. She stumbles back against their small TV stand and her tailbone will bruised for days. Suddenly, the small apartment looks too small with the children starting preschool soon and Shuta's sleeping bag all worn out. Maybe it was time to move somewhere with enough space for her boys. Shoyuta smothers the fire quickly with a blanket before looking at Katsuki with a glare. No quirks inside the apartment, Suki. He turns to Izuku, don't egg your brother on. Both boys pout and nod, mumbling softly, yes, Nizan. She hopes the blush Shoyuta gets every time never goes away. The reality of Izuku's quirk sinks in a week after he turns 4. Inko shakes like a leaf when the doctor gives her the primary diagnosis with a smile as sharp as a knife, with bright red letters on his clipboard, quirkless. He has the additional bone in his toe, so he's most likely not going to develop any quirks, but we won't have exact confirmation until his next birthday. He checks something off on his clipboard before looking at her again. If so, I'd recommend contacting AQO. They'd love to have you. Her heart breaks into 1,000 pieces as she pulls Katsuki closer and pushes Izuku behind them, and says with the most confidence she can muster, thank you. She cries that night when the boys are asleep, until she has nothing left. Shoyuta is somewhere in Australia until the next week, but she leaves him a message on his emergency number, the one he keeps specifically for her. The last gift Toshinori left her burns in her hand. Toshiniro had tucked it into her hand, before kissing her softly. Before the attack, before the loss that came with loving a hero. If it comes to this, tell no one. He held her face, this will be our secret. What about Nana? You said when you pass it on, you start getting weaker. What if you need it? She shook her head, I can't risk you. But he only smiled, and I can't risk you. The memory is sweet and lulls her to sleep. The next morning, she watches Izuku eat all of his breakfast, and she wonders how heavy the world will weigh upon his shoulders because of the single strand of hair he swallows. It's the first thing that comes out of the eraser head in the past few days. The heroes around him blink in surprise at the young man as he stares at his phone, and the commanding officer raises an eyebrow. Anything to share with the class? The CO calls his attention and Shoyuta straightens. No, sir, he says in English and gives a fake smile. Nothing to concern yourself with. He receives an order for 15 laps around the track in the Australian Hero Training Center. He runs 30 instead. We are here with the head of police about the case of missing children. The reporter says towards the camera, what can you tell us so far? We are looking any information the public can assist us with. This is happening all over Japan and we urge parents to be more careful. Chief Tsuragami says, our best are currently looking into it. We ask the public to assist us with any information they can provide to keep our children safe. They're saying the majority of children being taken are not quirkless? She scrambles to ask, with the large amount of support the AHO is offering to quirkless individuals. I am not currently able to provide any information about the case itself public. Between their finances and the investments the Bakugas left them, Shoyuta and Inko find a modest 3-bedroom house that's only in slight disrepair, which is only a short jog away from the abandoned fortress of Ue. She had no qualms about where, but she wasn't blind to Shuta's longing looks at the school when they strolled by for the first open house. The boys fall in love with the place almost immediately. They're wide-eyed, holding Shuta's hand on either side, as the realtor walks them through the house. The kitchen was average, but the living room is twice the size of theirs. The bedrooms vary in size, but she knows the largest is already claimed for Katsuki and Izuku, who run laps in their room. After sharing a bed with 2 boys who shove and pull at the sheets, she's ready to give them their own room. She's actually much more impressed by their backyard with large wooden fences providing them privacy. The realtor smiles when she signs the papers, paying the largest down payment option they offer, and the agency asks no further questions. The move isn't as troublesome as she predicted. Between Shoyuta and Inko, they carry the furniture themselves to and from the truck Torino lends them. Her quirk makes the heavier items slightly lighter, enough for her to carry them without too much strain. Katsuki packs his and Izuku's favorite toys into 2 backpacks with a look that says he understands too much. Izuku takes his bag wordlessly and a small pout on his lip. They settle into their new home and Shoyuta brings home a small cake. Inko had rolled her eyes. "You're spoiling them." He only gave a small smile in response as the 2 children cheered. She splurges a bit, buying Katsuki and Izuku new clothing and other things they'll need with school around the corner. Katsuki's quirk is banned to their backyard after he burns the new rug in the living room again. One for All, on the other hand, dwells under Izuku's skin and has yet to appear. Sometimes, Inko can almost seize lighting spread across his skin when he's brawling with Katsuki, but nothing happens. Toshihiro had warned her the quirk takes time to adapt to the user. Too much at once and they'll shatter bones. Inko swallows thickly, thinking about it. Even Nana had the scars to prove it. Nana, who has not contacted them since the visit, but Inko doesn't take it personal. She doesn't mind it, they're too similar and she can't agree with Nana on everything. Gran Torino stands as the middle ground between them with scheduled messages, checking in on the kids and relying Shoyuta with missions. It's easier that way. The first day of preschool arrives too quickly and the 4 of them stand at their newly appointed classroom. Their sensei smiles. A tall woman with tree-like limbs introduces herself as Ringo Najima. She shrugs her shoulder, bearing 2 apples that grow before their eyes. She offers one for each boy with a twinkle in her eye and a wink, and Inko lets herself breath. "It's a pleasure to meet you, Midoriya-san," she says warmly. "We will see you after school, isn't that right, boys?" Izuku's eyes grow in fear before stepping away from his new sensei. His mouth glitters from the apple and his lip trembles. "I don't want you to go." Her heart aches and she bends low, curling her arms around him. "You'll have a lot of fun and meet new friends, Izuku." She kisses his brow. "Promise me you'll behave and make sure Katsuki doesn't burn anything." Izuku laughs, nodding, stepping once more towards Naima-sensei. Katsuki raises his arms and Inko sweeps him into hers, peppering his faces with kisses. He gives her a secret smile as he whispers, "I'll take care of Zuku." Inko laughs, thinking of Mitsuki and her protective streak. "Thank you, baby. I'll see you both soon." She lowers him. "Have fun." Shoyuta gives a deep sigh before giving both boys a look. "No trouble or neither of you will have cake." The pure dread that raises in their faces makes Inko hide a giggle behind her hand. Then, it's only the 2 of them in the hallways. "Did you scout the area?" She raises an eyebrow as they stroll outside. "Of course." Shoyuta snorts. "Only kids usually end up trespassing after hours, but most people in the area respect what they stood for and usually keep their heads down. Shouldn't be a problem for us as long as we slip in and out without being seen." UA has been abandoned for almost 3 years, the gate locked multiple times over as if it would stop anyone. The city had debated repurposing the school, but due to the large amount of hero-focused equipment and the large destructible simulation fields, they left UA to stand against the passage of time. They slipped towards the back of the school, covering their faces with Shuta's scarf, and climbed the stone walls. With no possibility of being seen, Shoyuta lets his scarf loose and stows his contacts away. The dark circles under his eyes never seem to fade, but they're less worried than the first time she saw him. He leads her to what seems to be a training ground, with overgrown grass and flora crawling over the sand and dirt. "We used to spar here," Shoyuta says quietly. "Well, all of the hero study classes, They let us stay after hours too, so Hisashi and I would just duke it out here." She swallows the apology and grabs his hand. "Spar with me? I want to see what you can do." Inko is no novice to fighting. Between Mitsuki and Toshinori, they never let her go without protection. She wouldn't consider herself a fight. She didn't like the adrenaline and the bruises, but she does it. She was always better at reading dangerous situations rather than being a part of them. Mitsuki was always getting into trouble, trying to fist fight anyone with a pulse, and Inko was always there to save the day with a smile instead. She is rusty, her limbs are slower and her lungs burn too fast, and Shoyuta recognizes it. He's a much more fluid fighter that it looks like a dance. The scarf whirls around him as he forgets to use it as part of his attacks. He misses punches she knows should have landed after socking her once in the face, which makes her want to laugh. But Toshinori was the best of the best. She's seen him fight more times than anyone else. She can run through his movements like they were her own, and that's what lands Shoyuta on his back with a surprised expression. "Did he teach you that?" He blinks. Inko rolls her jaw, massaging the bruise she knows she'll have. "I could have sworn I moved. How'd you land that punch?" "I'm much smaller than Toshi and don't have the strength for bold shots. I can attract objects towards me, so, in theory, I thought I can push it and attract one of your arms towards me while I throw a hit at the same time. After all, you can't be a hero with just one trick." She's panting and shaking her head. She's completely out of shape. But she smiles wide. "It only worked because you're relying on your legs more than your arms. You're already a very accomplished fighter, but you assumed you won this fight before it even began." Her eyes pierce into his. "That will always backfire on you." She spits another mouthful of saliva and blood before grinning. "This time, I want you to tell me about the philosophy of heroism and its impact through history, media, and the system we had in place as we continue this." Neither of them notice a pair of bright, curious eyes watching. Detective Tsukachi stares at the files on his desk before looking up at the woman with haunted eyes. Her children look at him with piercing glares and he scratches the back of his head. "Mrs. Todoroki, I'm really not the person you may want to speak to. You're an officer, aren't you?" One of the boys snarl. His white hair seems to stand even straighter at the ends. His sister presses against his side. "He's terrible. Listen, please, tell him." "Natsuo, please." Rei Todoroki sighs. She closes her eyes for a second. The small boy in her arms with heterochromia watches him from under his mother's chin. I want to divorce my husband and he will say no. What can I do?" Naomasa Tsukachi is not known for passing cases. He latches onto unsolved reports until every loose end is gone, and undeniably, he wants to help people. He moves the growing caseload aside and gives her his complete attention. It's the look in their eyes, the tremble in her voice. This is a woman at the end of her rope. Hisashi Yamada was not suited for the prison life. The corrections facility was dedicated for ex-pro heroes, which didn't seem like the best idea in his opinion. To place all the rebels in one closed place as if they wouldn't plan anything. It makes him really wonder who's pulling the strings. Unfortunately, the place was overseen by someone who had a quirk similar to Shuta's, some type of nullification field. The fortunate part was that the person was also very predictable. For almost 5 years, Shinya has been sneaking in to collect information and checking in on key personnel Hisashi names past midnight, when the field falls. It's boring, repetitive, but he trusts Nana. The only problem was going to be breaking out the big guy, he muses as he eats the candy bar Shinya brings. Masaru sleeps soundlessly in the bunk. Below him, he really misses his best friend. Inko has always been the motherly friend, but it's one thing making sure Mitsuki drank enough water during her party days. It's something completely different being a mother. She doesn't know what to say about Izuku's father other than what a kind man he was. Listening to Katsuki call her mother reminds her that he has 2 parents who love him, but she doesn't know how to tell him. Shoyuta doesn't even discuss his own family, and she can only wonder how long he's been alone. Motherhood is hard, but Inko does her best. She plays old hero cartoons for the boys and trains with Shoyuta. Katsuki already wants to be a hero with Izuku right behind him after they watch some clips of the golden days. Especially after they see All Might. Even with heroes being illegal, they can't erase the history. The movies still sell, the internet crawls with heroes, and Inko can't believe the world shifted with how big heroes were. But she remembers the coverage, the propaganda. The articles of the damage heroes cause and how much the government pays for it. They argued against heroes, claiming they had no one to check their balance of power. Who could possibly stop All Might? One reporter wrote, "He's the #1 hero with Endeavor Leagues behind him in power. Who would dare stop him if he turned against us?" The public lost faith in heroes. It's been 2 weeks since Inko started the training with Shoyuta. He's smoother with his movements and began to implement the scarf into his attacks. He stops pulling his punches, which introduces her to a whole new world of pain. She's fortunately not as slow, managing to dodge a good amount of his throws, and her own hits land just as hard. They train from the morning to noon, just in time for lunch. The only issue has been the inch at the back of her head when they're sparring, like someone was watching them. Yet, the UA buildings look back at her silently, and if Shoyuta doesn't feel it, she just leaves it as paranoia. The only difference seems to be how everything seems to be clearing away, like trash being moved away or vines torn down. Might just be the kids who hang around after school. When they reach the house, sweaty and tired, the phone rings. Shoyuta grabs it for a moment, humming, before passing it to her. "Hello Midoriya-san, this is Naima-sensei. We had an incident with Katsuki Dash." Inko's heart pulls to a full stop. She chokes on her breath and her fingers dig into the counter. "He's fine, just a little bruised." Sensei hurries to say, "Don't be alarmed. I'm at Hosu General Hospital with him right now, but it's Izuku who's being looked at. I'm on my way." She doesn't give her any time, hanging up the phone. Inko tries to speak again, but she's already trembling and her tongue feels too thick. Shoyuta places a hand on her arm. "Breathe with me." They take a moment and wait as she retains the reins for the words to come again. She looks at him. They're at the hospital. Shoyuta grabs the keys and they're on their way. It takes them less than half an hour to burst through the entrance. Najima-sensei sits patiently with Katsuki beside her as they look up. Katsuki is curled into himself at his seat, head tucked between his knees. "Midoriya-sen," she gives a grimace-like smile. "I'm sorry we had to meet again under such circumstances. We had a situation with some of the boys. Katsuki got caught in a fight." Katsuki tucks his head even lower. "One of the other boys, who we have already dealt with, threw one of the toys and Izuku. He broke his hand, shattering the plastic car. We aren't entirely sure, but we believe that he has developed a strength quirk. I know Izuku was filed as quirkless and our faculty has already filed the change. We're just waiting for the doctor to confirm it now. I do want to apologize. They were under my watch and I failed you." Najima-sensei bows deeply. "I am so sorry." Inko almost collapses. She's not sure if it would be in relief or guilt. Shuta's arm around her shoulder keeps her standing. "He's fine then?" "Yes. The doctor should be with you shortly, so I'll take my leave." Najima-sensei bows again before combing her fingers through Katsuki's hair. "I'll see you at school. They're already in big trouble. Everything is going to be fine." Shoyuta walks with her, leaving Inko with her child. He's got a small bruise on his face but won't look at her. "Katsuki, I'm here now. You're safe with me, sweetie. But I need you to look at me, okay?" Inko coos as she kneels before him. "Did you get hurt badly?" He glances at her. "I didn't mean to get us in trouble. The kids were making fun of Zook because they said he was different." He starts sniffing, holding back tears. "Then Tsubasa pushed him, so I hit him back. It was my fault. I promised I'd take care of him." She pulls him into her lap and lets him cry. She rains down kisses across his face until he finally laughs and then pulls away. "I don't like you fighting, but you were doing what you thought was right, no?" He nods. "Then you were doing what you thought would protect Izuku. Now, I don't want you fighting, but what's more important is that you're both are safe. Zuku's hurt. I know, but that's not your fault. Those boys, they did something wrong. Bad people do bad things, but good people can do bad things too. We all have to make sure we do our best and we learn from our mistakes." Katsuki gives her a critical look. "Aren't you and Nai-san fighting too?" She blinks in surprise. "What makes you think that? You come home with hurt sometimes." He looks shyly away. "Ni-san used to come home hurt a lot too. Less now." Inko swallows. She forgets how observant he is with how much his temper and explosive attitude covers the way he watches the world. She bites her lip. "We're not fighting, practicing. When you're a little older, I'll show you." An older woman clears her throat behind them and Inko stands with Katsuki. "Midoriya-san? My name is Dr. Shizenji. Your son is ready to be released. Would you come with me?" She leaves Katsuki with Shoyuta and follows the doctor into one of the rooms where Izuku is fast asleep on the bed with his wrist wrapped in loose bandages. Rushing to his side, Inko turns with a confused expression and the doctor laughs. Maybe you'd recognize my other name, Recovery Girl, at your service. Dr. Shizenji winks. Now, Midoriya-san. It's not every child is born with such a strong quirk right off the bat. Usually, the quirk grows with the child, such is the case with your other son. I didn't bother to heal his scrapes and bruises as they won't cause him too much discomfort. She steps closer, but Izuku, he's not a usual case, is he? I've seen these type of injuries before with a very beloved hero. Inko holds her breath and Dr. Shizenji pulls her into a hug. You are very brave. It's a difficult time now, so continue to do your best. Izuku will have a hard time, that quirk is not kind. It's a power that one must grow into. As a young child now, these injuries will not cause as much permanent damage as if he were older. His hand healed without any complications, but I can't recommend letting the injuries continue. Especially accidentally. I'm sorry for causing you trouble. Inko says quietly. My dear, this was nothing. Izuku was very polite. He too apologized and asked many questions about what I do here. You have a very bright boy. Tashinori would be proud how you've raised him. She soothes Inko's stray bangs back. With the other hand, she tucks a small card in Inko's hand. Call me if you need anything. I do not only answer for Nana. Thank you. Her heart feels like it wants to burst. Dr. Shizenji smiles sadly. It's the least I can do. You must tread very carefully, Inko Midoriya. It is not easy being a mother nor a hero. But being both is one of the hardest trials you will face. Nana leans over the cowering child like a shield as Gran Torino jets from one creature to the next. Each falls without a sign of life and the child below her clenches their eyes tightly. They're probably only a few years older than Inko's children. She presses a hand to the child's cheek and gives her a smile when they looks at her with wide glassy eyes. We've got you. Nana says, you're safe now. This is the first child we find alive. Gran Torino sighs afterwards, as they watch the child walk into the police station. They're getting stronger too. You need to hurry with that plan of yours if you want to stop all for one. Nana crushes the railing under her fingers. Get in contact with Sir Night Eye. Detective Tsukachi is known to be very good at his job. That's how he became a detective so young, by being the absolute best that any partner he is assigned to immediately wants a transfer. He does not let things go and one day, it's going to get him fired. So when Rei Todoroki barrels her way into the station, with 3 children in tow and 1 in her arms, for the second time, he fills out the paperwork himself. He had already sent it once through social services, to people certified in dealing with these types of situations. But when her youngest son turns his face to watch him with a burn splashed across his face, his jaw clenches hard. Naomasa slams down the restraining orders so hard, the clerk's desk almost gives out. The station falls completely silent. If this isn't in system within the next hour, I'm going as high up the ladder as I can reach to get this approved. He growls out, more so towards the captain who blinks in surprise rather than the frightened woman at the desk. I don't give a shit if it's Enji Todoroki, I want this filed now and a lawyer here by tomorrow morning. The family ends up in his living room that night. Shoyuta bends back, letting his muscles strain and stretch with his arms high above his head. Inko chuckles when he lets himself fall onto the grass with a thud. Already done for the day? I can go a few more rounds. She gives him a cheeky smile when he looks at her with a playful glare. He snorts and rolls his eyes. You are definitely a fearsome woman, Inko. Especially with how much you've improved over the last month. Since when were you a better sparring partner than some heroes I've seen? When you said you'd find me a teacher, I didn't expect you to volunteer yourself. Who else is there? Inko says her eyes look far away for a split second. Sometimes, she doesn't realize it herself when she wears an expression of such anguish that only lasts a brief moment. Shoyuta swallows hard and turns his head as she continues. Nana wanted you to leave and Torino only minds his business. I wanted you to be safe. Who else can I trust? Should his expression soften? Thank you, Inko. She's become a little of everything to him: his friend, his mentor, his family. He doesn't let himself think of Hisashi and his parents, the small family who practically raised him. Inko kneels beside him as if she can see the direction of his thoughts and runs her hand through his hair. "I'm sorry I couldn't do more. I wish everything was different. I would have never met you if it was. At least, not like this." He shakes his head and digs his fingers in the dirt before offering her a small 4-leaf clover. She blinks in surprise and takes it. Shoyuta smiles up at her, and he's sure it's the first time he looks his age. "There's no one else I trust more." Inko throws her head back and laughs. Since the first meeting where she welcomed him to her family, Shoyuta knew what Tashinori saw in her. But in this moment, between her laughter and her love, he can see something that's more than a hero. They settle into their comfortable silence, and he relaxes back against the grass, the tuft poking at his arms. "You head home first," he says with closed eyes. "I'm going to stay for a little longer." He can't see her smile, but he hears it. "Don't stay too late. You promised the boys you'd play with them before you left on your next mission." Training in Russia with the pussycats this time. Inko taps his foot with her own, and he watches her leave the second she gives him her back. Shoyuta doesn't move until she disappears over the wall. His mouth pinches as he casually stands and strolls towards the school buildings. The shadows inside have been more obvious, and Inko does not hide her paranoia well enough from him. The feeling of being watched hasn't subsided for the last few days. Shoyuta doesn't sense any malice. It couldn't be an officer or a villain. He checked the building and area enough times to know who frequented the school. The person was simply watching. Or perhaps waiting. He decides to find them this time instead. The side entrance is wide open and fresh graffiti paints across the walls. "We will rise again." It's painted in red, but the handwriting is undeniable. His heart starts pounding in his chest, and suddenly, his head turns so quickly that pain shoots down his neck. Another tap against the floor has him sprinting down the corridor as he skids around the corner. It continues past empty halls, the cafeteria, up the stairs. By the time he arrives to his old classroom, he's out of breath and choking on the possibilities. The sign above the door still looks the same, 1A, as if nothing has changed. The inside is almost pitch black with the windows covered by dark sheets. Shoyuta takes a deep breath, prepares himself for anything as he loosens the scarf around his neck, and pulls open the door. The hallway lights flicker on and floods half the room with light. In the dark, 2 eyes blink at him and teeth gleam. They move closer and Nizu steps into the light. "Hello, Eraserhead." He grins like a cat. "It's been a while." Shoyuta stumbles back against one of the desks with furrowed eyebrows. "Nana didn't mention you were still?" He was left to assume that Nizu had fled before UA was shut down since no one had seen the principal in years. Nizu raises an eyebrow. "Does she often tell you everything?" Nana does not, in fact, tell him much at all really. She may have her secrets, but he can only trust in the woman that Tashinori had called his teacher, his friend. She has no reason to mislead him. Shoyuta hesitates before shaking his head. Humans are so fickle, always caught up in their own messes. Nizu sighs and rubs at his forehead, his ears twitching in annoyance. "We have much to discuss, young Aizawa. It's Midoriya." "Midoriya Shoyuta." He can't help interrupting. The strength that he wears as a Midoriya shines through like an armor. To answer to any other name would feel nothing less than uncomfortable, and it must show on his face because Nizu pauses. "My apologies, young Midoriya." The principal corrects himself. "Although we do not have much time as you are most likely expected home soon, there is one thing I must show you first." His smile twists slightly. "I bet Nana didn't mention this either." The door behind him slides wider and Shoyuta turns to see Crimson Riot leaning against it with his arms folded across his chest. Namuri gives him a sly smile and shakes the spray can, the tapping practically resonating in the room. "Hey sweetheart, did you miss me?" He would never admit the truth about the wetness she feels against her shoulder when he tackles her and they collapse on the dusty floors. She would have complained about ruining her dress, but Namuri can't stop crying either. "Tell me, All Might," the man says through the small TV set. The video only shows below his jaw down to his shoulders, but it doesn't matter. He knows exactly who he is. Is it worth all this pain? You can just give me what I want and I will let you walk free. I give you my word. The bruises, the blood, the scars. They're nothing. Toshinori licks his lips and the taste of copper is beyond familiar. He looks up at the camera in the small cell and smiles wide, the well-known smile of the symbol of peace. You're truly letting my son down, Toshinori. He wanted to see what made a hero, but instead, here you are. Refusing to help me change our world. Though your strength is admirable, your efforts are futile. All for one size, and turns towards someone off camera. Proceed until you reach his limits, and then some. Sir Night Eye spits another mouthful of blood and Edge Shot snorts. The man sneers, you couldn't have come a few minutes earlier? Edge Shot shrugs. He pulls the other man back as footsteps hurry past the door and they hold their breath. When the sound disappears, he huffs. I'm doing the best I can. Not only am I sneaking in at the worst time, but I'm in charge of getting you out. So if you can bear with me, this will go much easier. If you could just be slightly faster, I would appreciate it. Sir Night Eye smiles, broken nose and all. They're coming. Without Shoyuta by her side, the walk to the preschool is lonely even though it's just as quiet. The only difference this time is kids stumbling onto the street chasing after their ball. Suddenly she tunnel visions, all she can see is the child, the car and the mother. Without hesitation, she pulls the kid towards her, pushing her quirk to its limit. The kid is too far, too heavy, but it pulls through just enough and he gets dragged out of the way towards her. She catches him by his backpack and the ball is crushed under the wheel. The mother stares and so do the people on the sidewalk. Inko swallows nervously, tucking her face lower into her shirt. There are no officers in view but she doesn't know who's watching. She can afford the fine but the attention would crumble her cover. The paperwork holds on the surface but there are too many dead ends. She's the mother of a child who holds a quirk too great and another whose parents are some of the core members of so-called terrorists. She's the aunt of Eraserhead. Inko tries to steady her breathing. The kid blinks in surprise when his mother grabs him, Hitoshi. He hiccups and tears up, I'm sorry. I thought I could catch it fast enough. Don't ever do that to me again. I was terrified. His mother lifts him into her arms and Inko can see the relief flood through her before she turns towards her. She's frantic and unsteady but the woman manages to give a shaky smile. Thank you so much, please. I can never thank you enough. I'm sorry, Inko tries to avoid her eyes. It really was no problem. The woman licks her lips and says, no one will report this. Her voice booms loud enough to overtake the chatter on the street. The bystanders fall quiet and continue on their way without looking at her. She gives Inko an honest smile and tucks business card into her hand. I am forever in your debt. Hitoshi waves at her and Inko disappears into the crowd. Her kids spot her from a distance and their sensei bids them a good day. They walk home holding hands as the boys tell her about their day. They ask where their brother is, what's dinner will be tonight, if she's had a good day. Inko's heart relaxes and kisses them each. Usually, she cooks for 3 growing boys and herself but it's just enough for 5. Shoyuta steps into the house with a woman she doesn't recognize immediately. Shoyuta talks in his sleep and wears their names like scars, Toshinori, Hizashi, Nemuri. And Nemuri is a blessing in disguise with the way Shoyuta and the boys look at her. Even though she wears a smile like a cloak, it's light when she looks at the kids. The boys absorb her the same way they consume the hero movies she had found at the bottom of a box. Izuku asks her every question that comes to mind and she answers each without pause. Katsuki, more so, watches Nemuri like he's connecting the loose ends of their excuses before looking back at her. Inko can only pretend she doesn't see what he's asking. I made seafood curry if you'd like to join us. Inko smiles and a flash of remorse crosses on Nemuri's face before she gives a polite smile and nods. They eat together with Nemuri nestled between Shota and Izuku. Katsuki sits beside her quietly and only gives her a toothy smile when Inko raises an eyebrow. She recounts vague stories of South Korea and Crimson Riot to entertain the kids while they're listening in awe. Inko can't help how thankful she is that Nemuri was in good hands. When they finish, the boys drag Shoyuta to the small PlayStation and Nemuri helps gathers their plates even after Inko tells her she's a guest. She does it anyways and they stand side by side as Inko manages the sink and Nemuri waits with a towel to dry. "Thank you," Nemuri says quietly as Inko soaps the dishes. Inko smiles down as she scrubs at a particularly difficult stain. "I should be the one thanking you." The young woman shakes her head. "I didn't know what happened after the attack failed. I was waiting for them to signal for me. Instead, Riot drags me off, kicking and screaming, and one of the rescue heroes stowed us away on a ship headed for Korea." Her hands tremble as she grabs the dish Inko passes to dry. She wipes down the wet surface. "They knew where I was and our mission. They knew my name too. So Riot did what he could when he realized no one was coming to help us. I was so worried. I saw the news after in Hizashi. I knew Tensei was safe with his family. They're well respected and his father stepped down publicly. But Shoyuta, he's always been kind of a mess, you know? Barely sleeps and tends to forget that just because he was going to be an underground hero, it didn't mean he was alone. Hizashi helped him balance that out." Nemuri sighs. "I didn't know where he was and Nana would only allow us to send one message through. I had to let my parents know that I was fine so I couldn't help him." Inko shuts off the faucet and wipes down her hands. She opens her arms. "Thank you for coming back to him." Nemuri practically tackles her and sobs quietly into her shirt as Inko soothes a hand down the girl's back. Shoyuta appears at the doorway for a split second and she gives him a smile when the boys call him back. Inko pulls away after and wiping away her tears with a motherly hand before kisses her forehead. "I don't know if we can give you my family name too, but you are more than welcome to stay if you'd like," Inko says, patting Nemuri's cheek. "There is a home here for you if you need it." Nemuri finally gives her a real smile and goes to lay with kids on the floor, joining in on their fun. It's only a little past 8 p.m. when Nemuri bids them farewell. Inko sweeps the boys toward their rooms to get ready for bed and leaves the two young adults for their goodbyes. She doesn't listen to the whispers, but she does hear their back door close as Nemuri disappears into the night. Katsuki finishes up first and wanders into her bedroom while she's pulling away the sheets from the bed. She smiles and sits, letting him into her lap. "Yes, baby? Are heroes bad?" "Is." She chokes. No, of course not. Heroes always do their best to do the right thing. They always help people and save the day." Katsuki says nothing for a few moments and she can feel the thundering of her heart in her throat. He looks at her. "Heroes are just gone for now then? People are mad at them and they had to leave." "Yes." Inko admits, he's too bright for his own good. Izuku may be observant but Katsuki knew things down to the bone. They're gone for now but one day, they'll be back. And then you can be a hero if you'd like. He reaches around to give her a hug and mumbles against her shirt. "Kids our school say that heroes are bad and so does the lady on the news when they catch one. But I know the truth." Inko chokes again and he continues, "Zuka doesn't know that you and Nai-san are heroes but I promise I won't tell him. He's safer, right?" Inko does not cry. Instead, she hugs him closer and presses kisses to his face. "I will never let anything happen to you boys." She loves him so much. "You have a way with people," Mitsuki had told her once with that sly smirk. "A love too big that any puppy-eyed kid will pull at your heartstrings. That's why I want you to take Katsuki if anything happens. I know you'll love him like he's your own. And I know that Spitfire will love you as much as I do. Even without knowing his mother, he's more like her than she could have ever guessed. They share the temper, the eyes, the protective streak that runs too deep. Mitsuki would be proud." Izuku follows in after and dives onto the covers with them. She kisses his brow and he gives her those same puppy eyes. "Can we sleep with you tonight?" Katsuki perks up at that and Inko rolls her eyes. "Just for tonight." The boys knock out almost immediately and she's trapped between them, legs tossed over her and an elbow digging into her shoulder. Inko can only snuggle closer. Shoyuta taps on her door with something close to a smile. "I locked up and turned off the lights." He leans against the doorway. "You really are amazing, Inko." Inko laughs. Inko wakes past midnight and moves Izuku closer to the middle of the bed before he falls. He curls into Katsuki as she slips away. Shuda's room is dark from what she can tell of the crack under the door. She makes no noise on the way to the kitchen as she checks her phone. He's alive, Nana's text message says. But we can't afford to get him out yet. Nana's favorite word. Inko sinks onto the cold tile and leans her head against the fridge. But he's alive. That's what matters most. Another curious message dwells in her inbox. Sent during her training from an unknown number, and she raises an eyebrow. Hello Inko, it's been a while. While we should be in the clear now, I am late on congratulations. But I do need some assistance. Nemuri pops her bubble gum and Crimson gives her a look. She slouches lower in her chair to spit the gum into the trash before leaning forward towards the mic. Hello my gorgeous listeners, this is just another one of your favorite broadcasts. I know we're a little behind on schedule, but we have a few kittens trying to find our signal every time. Crimson thought it would be best if we kept these meetings brief and random for a little while. Nizu glances over the screens with a wicked grin and gives her a thumbs up. Nemuri chuckles. Looks like they're trying to lock on us again? Do you never learn? The coordinates he traces flashes on screen and Crimson stands. She smirks. See you soon. Naomasa Tsukachi is not a person Inko expected to hear from for another few years. She saw his promotion announced previously on the television, but she trusts him enough to believe him when he says it's safe to meet. Or at least, he wouldn't ask for help if he didn't need it. Maybe it's the trouble he's been stirring up his dedication towards the children kidnapped that appear on the news. Or it's something entirely different, when she meets him a few weeks later on a Friday night and she raises an eyebrow at the child beside him. The diner is rowdy around them and Naomasa stands, bowing slightly. I didn't realize you had a son, Tsukachi-san. She smiles. Katsuki glares at him and Izuku clings to her skirt. He snorts, you don't even know the whole story yet. This one is the quietest kid of the pack. The other three are at the arcade across the street with their mother. Naomasa looks down at the boy. Say hello, Shudo. The child nods his head slightly, and the bandage across his right eye pulls at her heart. Hello. Izuku immediately latches onto him. He claims the seat beside him and completely forgets the concept of personal space. I'm Izuku, he says. Katsuki huffs and follows him. Izuku continues with no remorse. Your hair is so pretty. Mine Isen found a cat that kinda looks like you. It just had half its face orange though. Inko sends him a look and Izuku pulls away, finally realizing Shudo's discomfort. The boy is curled closer towards Naomasa and Izuku looks down at his shoes. I'm sorry. Shudo relaxes, his small shoulders fall from around his ears, and gives him a small smile. I like cats. Inko hands off her phone without question and Izuku begins to elaborately give a life story to every cat picture she saved from Shuda's messages. Naomasa looks over her boys carefully. Congratulations again. I would have sent a gift for him, but I didn't want to bring any attention towards you. They stopped following me after the 3rd year. He winks. They couldn't keep up with the hotshot officer. She laughs. When the waitress arrives for their drinks, Naomasa looks up from the menu. Let's see. I'll take a green tea, a child-sized apple juice, 3 waters, and a lemonade. Inko blinks. Oh, a water for me as well, and 2 more child-sized apple juices. Katsuki nods in agreement, as if she would order him anything else, while Izuku and Shudo are lost in their own conversation. The waitress disappears with their orders and Naomasa drops the menu. I never want more than 2 kids. He mutters. Inko snorts. I have a feeling that it's a little too late for you on that. She leans toward. So how can I help you, old friend? I assume you've seen the news with Endeavor. He says and she nods, a sour taste on her tongue. The divorce appeared clear-cut and was splashed across every magazine. Naomasa makes a face. Well, I've been housing Rei Todoroki and her 4 children in my single-bedroom apartment. She chokes on her spit. You've been what? She shrieks. They had nowhere else to go while the divorce was being processed. I couldn't just let them go back. He doesn't notice the protective hand he places on Shudo's head, but Inko does. Shudo doesn't bat an eye at it or show any discomfort. Of course not. But a single apartment? I had Izuku and Katsuki sleeping in bedroom for years before we moved. I can't even imagine 4 children. Inko half laughs and puts a hand over her heart. You poor thing. Don't tease me, Inko. He rolls his eyes. But in all seriousness, I have no allies in the department. They think I'm in over my head and my superiors are already upset at my meddling with Ray. The papers are being signed this week and I don't want them where trouble can find them. They're welcome to stay with me. My home is always open. Inko reaches a hand across the table and he grabs it. Anything you need, I will do what I can. You know he loved you like you were his own brother. Naomasa gives her a fond look. You two truly deserve each other. Your hearts are too big to give up on anyone. She smiles at the thought, almost reminiscing, and he looks over her head, waving. Here they come. The woman is nothing short of beautiful, with snow-white hair and icy gray eyes. She bows low and her children copy her easily. Once she straightens, she smiles softly. Hello. You must be Midoriya-san. Pleased to meet you, Todoroki-san. Call me Inko. Inko bows her head. These are my children, Izuku and Katsuki. Her boys give a respectful nod. Rei's eyes crinkle at the edges. You must call me Rei then, she says in reply. Inko already knows they will get along fabulously. She hovers a hand behind her children. This is Fuyumi, Natsuo, and Dabi. And well, you've already met Shudo. Her children are just as polite, chirping their greetings. Their hair varies, from Natsuo's blinding white to Fuyumi's scarlet-streaked snow to Dabi's burning red. Rei slides onto the booth beside Inko and they follow her, Fuyumi and Natsuo shoving at each other. Dabi takes a seat beside Katsuki, who gives him an even look. Inko wants to laugh when Dabi raises his eyebrows at said look. Izuku gives them a shy wave instead. The waitress arrives with a tray of drinks and the large group grab their respective cups, with Naomasa assisting the boys with their straws. Rei barely looks at the menu before listing off their orders. Naomasa chimes in with his and Inko follows with her own. So, now that we've all been introduced, I only ask you to take them for a week or two, just until papers are officially filed and the restraining order pulls through. Naomasa announces and Inko can almost feel the kick Rei lands on him. He winces. I meant until the papers are all filed and Rei can get back on her feet. Her children barely bat an eye. Fuyumi speaks up first. Our father isn't a great man. You don't have to worry about us, Oka-san. We know you're doing the best you can. Dabi follows it up and Natsuo nods. The redhead shrugs. He's in his dash. He pauses when he notices Katsuki looking at him, a small man. You all don't deserve this. I just wish I was stronger. Rei sighs, pulling her green tea closer. I wanted to give you all the world. We always want our children to have everything. Inko holds her hand. Sometimes we do the best we can. And this is the best I can do for you, Rei. Naomasa says, gentler this time. He catches her eye and he communicates something Inko doesn't bother to decipher. Takes a sip of her water and politely looks away. Just until you can get back on your feet. I will help you every step of the way. Katsuki takes advantage of the private moment and ducks under the table, climbing into Inko's seat. She hisses but he settles in her lap. Rei smiles at him and he ducks his head shyly under Inko's chin. Glancing around, Rei offers him a hand and the ice gathers in her palm. It morphs into a tiny sculpture of a dog and she places into his hands. Katsuki starts to panic when it begins to melt, and Inko laughs at his startled gaze. He pops it into his mouth with a frown and Rei winks. She knows he's already won over. He is abrasive and hot-blooded but he has a good head on his shoulder. It's soft souls like Rei and Izuku who win him over with ease. Their food arrives and they dine like a family. The older kids tell stories to the younger kids and Katsuki slowly warms towards them, settling in Rei's lap, while Fuyumi recounts the book she read in class. Naomasa pays, waving her away even when Inko offers her card. They spend Saturday moving the Todoroki family into their home, but it's a quick event. They only have a suitcase each to their name. Shoyuta gives Inko a look that can only say, more kids? Inko shrugs as a silent answer. He reclaims the couch so that Rei and Fuyumi can take his room. Katsuki and Izuku sleep with her as the boys take their room. Inko doesn't hesitate, she offers her home unconditionally. Shudo even claims one corner of her bed, beside Izuku, and Katsuki doesn't argue. When Rei tries to call for him, Inko laughs her off. "It's fine." She smiles. "If I can share a bed with those two, one more won't matter." Inko says nothing when she hears Rei crying and Fuyumi cooing at her mother. Shudo is bracketed between Inko and Izuku with Katsuki on the other end, keeping them from falling. "Ka-san," Katsuki whispers one night. "Rei-san is going to be okay, right?" She looks at him and Izuku's eyes blink at her as well. Inko leans carefully over Shudo, kissing both on their brow. "We're going to help them as much as we can." Eijiro knows he's not supposed to really look up to heroes. They're just stories now, characters on comic book pages and TV shows. He can name the cartoons on screen and the big hero names that extend across the world. But he's entranced by Crimson Riot. He's everything Eijiro wants to be, even their quirks are similar. But when he spots a tall man with bright red hair under the hood one afternoon, Eijiro wonders. The man even looks at him, with eyes shadowed and the collar of his jacket covering most of his face. Eijiro can only stare in awe as the younger woman with dark hair glances back at him. She grins and Crimson Riot lowers the collar enough for Eijiro to see him smile. Rise Shinso is not a woman to be messed with. As a public defense attorney, she does what can for the people. Usually with words and a pile of paperwork no one wants to refute because she is their worst nightmare in the flesh. Especially when their client was a sweetheart with 4 adorable children and their father who thought he was too big to be taken down. She scoffs. Her son tackles her with teary eyes the moment she comes home and she coos, "What wrong, Hitoshi baby?" It's always a comfort to see her child with all the honesty written across his face. The kids at school say I have to be a villain because that's all my quirk would be useful. They never let me be the hero when we play. He cries. "I'm always the bad guy. Do you think Mama is a villain too?" Her quirk was less direct than his, but he's been in awe of it before. Her son shakes his head frantically. "Never. Mama helped people all the time." Rise smiles. "That's right. No matter what anyone tells you, it's up to you whether you're a good person or not. And you want to be a good person like Mama, right? Mama is my hero." Her son gives her a cheesy grin and Rise kisses his nose. His father rolls his eyes with a smile and kisses her hello. Detective Tsukachi estimates their stay to be a week or two, a week for the divorce to pass and another week to find them a place to stay. While Inko doesn't mind them end up staying longer, Shota is not keen on having 6 children in one house. He loves Katsuki and Izuku, but adding an extra powerhouse to their duo seems like the worst idea. Along with his 3 older siblings who are almost as overprotective as Katsuki on a good day. This wouldn't seem like a fun time except for how they all behave with the mothers. With Rei, even Katsuki's wild temper dissipates. She sings songs for them and makes tiny ice sculptures for each one. She sits on the living room carpet and plays with the younger children as the older ones do their homework after school. With Inko, they're all curious and a little more rowdy, but never out of control. They're good kids. But as Shota stares down at the 6 children who all manage to give him identical puppy eyes only 2 days after they've moved in, he knows the truth. In the center, they geniusly placed Izuku and the kitten in his arms. They know exactly what they're doing when Izuku's lip trembles and his eyes grow even bigger. "What did your mother say?" is the first thing he asks. He's not about to allow them a pet in the house if Inko already refused. As much as he loves cats, he still considers himself a guest in Inko's house. She would scold him if she knew. Katsuki's face almost splits into a smirk. She said it's okay if you say yes. That little monster. Shota sighs. "Fine. But I'm assigning every single one of you chores and she will be our responsibility when the Todorokis leave." The kids cheer and the kitten gives Shota a look that says, "You've ruined me," but immediately starts purring as Izuku scratches its chin so gently. It's a yellow short hair that ironically looks like Katsuki. Fuyumi scratches his head. "What do you boys want to call him?" Izuku and Katsuki look at each and the blonde shrugs. "Can we call him All Might?" All Might's son asks with those innocent eyes, and Shota chokes. We watched a movie with him yesterday and I thought he was really cool. Katsuki nods. I think we should call him All Might or Cat Might, 'cause he's a cat. Shota should warn Inko before she has a heart attack if the boy's saying All Might more often. Dabi grins. That guy was definitely the greatest. No one else could have compared. The way he says it seems so casual, but it causes his siblings to flinch. They're only 12 now, so they were old enough to see their father as the hero he once was. Shota had only heard rumors about Endeavor, and though he was one of the best, his children don't seem to be as impressed. His eyes look down at Shoto and the bandaged eye. An accident in the kitchen. In that same moment, Rei walks into the room with a sad smile and Tsukachi-san follows behind. Her older children immediately snap to attention. She kisses Dabi's cheek and offers Shoto a hand. Daddy wants to see you for a little bit. He wants to apologize. Would that be okay with you? Shota swallows whatever protective snarl appears when her youngest son nods. Are we just letting her go? His words hold more bite than he means, and Naomasa sighs. They're his kids. If she wants custody, she has to play by his rules. Katsuki yanks on his sleeve and Shota schools his expression before looking down with a raised eyebrow. What is it? Can I go with him? Now that's not what he expects from this particular child. Maybe from Izuku, who never knew how to mind his business and had no concept of private affairs. Katsuki doesn't seem very fond of Shoto either, which makes it all somewhat surreal. He looks up at Rei, who smiles with a nod. Would you mind if I tag along as well? It's not that he doesn't trust Tsukachi-san's ability to keep them safe. He just has a feeling he can only trust Enji Todoroki with the feelings of a child as far as he can throw him. Rei gives a soft chuckle. I would feel safer with you there as well. Izuku's face looks broken when he realizes the two boys and Shota are leaving. Shoto pets the cat and then Izuku, as if he's not just a short, take care of All Might. Shota would have laughed at the entire situation if he didn't feel like crying. Even Tsukachi-san looks uncomfortable. Katsuki places a hand on Shoto's shoulder. I'll take care of this kid. Don't worry. Izuku grins and Dabi peers down at the blonde. You better. Katsuki sticks out his tongue as the rest of the sibling trio hug their little brother. Natsuo sniffs and the hesitation is clear on Fuyumi's face. Rei reassures them with kisses. We have the detective and big brother Shota, okay? We will be back soon. Inko walks them out the door without concern the moment she sees Katsuki and Shota trailing behind. He's never met Endeavor in person, which is why he doesn't mind tagging along. Without using his quirk, the man most likely wouldn't recognize who he is anyways. But looking at the previous second-place hero, Shota is not very impressed. The Flame X hero is broad and looks menacing, as if he's trying to take up more place than he needs. Especially when he looks down at the small blonde boy with a peculiar expression, and Katsuki does nothing to hide his disdain. He stands with Shoto against his back as if he had any power to stand in his way. Shoto only shies away in return. Come here, Shoto, he demands. Shota steadies his breathing and clenches his fist when the man calls to his son again. Here. Rei clears her throat and with a piercing look, Enji Todoroki looks away. She steps in front of the boys and Shota relaxes, not realizing he took a step forward. Tsukachi-san gives him a smile. Our son is not comfortable with you alone, and neither am I. Whatever you have to say to him, you can say it from where you are. Should Shoto or any of our children wish to cultivate a relationship with you, that will be up to them. But you, she emphasizes, you will not left alone with any of them. Todoroki's jaw clenches. He looks like he swallowed a lemon but melts to his knees. From his expression, it looks as though Rei had asked him to rip out his heart. He bends forward. I apologize. Shoto stands motionless and Katsuki crosses his arms, protectively. Shota is going to buy both of them ice cream, along with the cat supplies they'll need when they're done here. It will take more than one apology, and it's not only Shoto who deserves it. Rei sighs this time and she does not approach him. Sign the papers with Shinsu-san. She's faxed them to your office already. We will see you again. It's a shorter meeting than Shota expected, but watching Todoroki, it was not meant to be as short as it was. He's trying, but a man is only worth as much as his word. In the end, he buys the boys each a small cup of ice cream and they swear to secrecy so Izuku won't feel the betrayal. He buys the cat a collar, food, litter, and the boys pick out a few toys. The detective left shortly after the meeting due to work, and Rei follows along behind them with her own ice cream. They will be a handful, Rei says with twinkling eyes as they watch the boys pick out the toys. I know my children are each a handful, but together? It's a war zone. Katsuki rants about why a dog toy would be better for a cat while Shoto rolls his eyes. Shota snorts, they will end my patience. I'm never going to want kids at this rate. She laughs, you don't need to have children to have them. You will have those for the rest of your life, following behind you. I can see how much you love them, Shota. You're a great brother. He doesn't blush. Cat Might stares them down when arrive, and while Shota loves cats, he does not know how he feels about this kitten being named after his hero. Fuyumi looks up from her book with a smile and one hand running through the hair of a napping Izuku. Natsuo and Dabi crowd their brother, checking him over. Katsuki only rolls his eyes. Shota almost misses the text message when his phone vibrates in his pocket. Midnight. Tell Inko. Nana says, and he shows it to Inko. He's not excited and neither is she. Nana visiting always causes an imbalance, but they bear it. Rei cooks dinner and the boys set down the plastic bowl of soft food and water for the cat. Inko shoos the boys to bed and the older children play in their rooms. Rei bids them a good night and kisses his cheek. Shota just washes the dishes and stares down Cat Might, who tries to steal some table scraps. When Nana knocks lightly on their patio door, it's only a few minutes past midnight. She's a whirlwind the moment she comes through the door, breathing down Inko's neck as she backs her into the wall. Torino pulls her far enough for Inko to pat down her dress with a frown. Hello, Nana. You gave your son the only thing that was keeping Toshinori alive. Nana says, voice low. Shota can only watch as Torino settles beside him, letting go of her jacket. The child. You've put the whole operation at risk. Yes. She throws her hands up. Izuku is not old enough for us to know if he's even worthy of it. Not old enough for what? I know that. Can never remove it from him forcefully, what's to say he won't misuse it? Did you even think this through, Inko? Inko stands straighter and her snarl is venomous. You do not decide that he is Toshinori's son. He's my son. Maybe I was being selfish, but I will do what it takes to protect him, even if it means ruining whatever plans you had in place. Toshinori can protect himself. Shota can count on one hand how many times he has seen Inko angry, but this was beyond what he had ever expected. He swallows. Spiteful woman, Nana spits. I am trying to fix this. You're doing a great job so far, aren't you? They're heroes, not pawns. They are what I need them to be if we want the lives we knew back. Nana pauses, taking a deep breath. It doesn't matter now. Eraserhead, you have a new mission. What? He wasn't surprised, but it startles him anyways. He has no idea what just happened in this conversation, but he's willing to do anything to keep Izuku safe. Shota just doesn't understand what Inko did. You're a hero, aren't you? I said you have a mission. Nana repeats herself, turning towards the door. We're leaving. Inko shoots out a hand, grip tightening on Nana's arm. Torino takes an instinctive step towards them. If anything happens to him, I will come for you. She growls out. Were Katsuki awake, he would have committed himself to learning that expression. Because it was not a threat, it was a promise. Nana gives her a critical look. He will be partnered with Midnight, solely for reconnaissance. The only ones going in will be Torino, Crimson Riot, and I. Shota moves to Inko's side slowly, pressing one hand against her back. I will be back. I know you will. You always do. The look on her face softens as she drops her hold. She turns to pat his cheek. And when you do, I have to tell you a story. Edgeshot leans back to watch the two heroes type away at their keyboards. How are we sure that they won't turn the media against us? The media is already against the idea of us still operating without anyone's knowledge. Sir Night Eye doesn't look away from the screen. We are no longer the main feature, but they cannot make complete enemies out of us when heroes in the media are still one of the largest means of capital. They sell old movies, cartoons, comics to sell that fantasy since it's no longer reality. Just a means to pacify the public. Nizu chuckles, along with the fact that we are about to steal back the symbol of peace. I don't think they would want everyone to know that they lost their little trump card. Their comms come alive at that moment and calls their attention. Nana grunts, "We are in position. I will repeat to the recon team, do not engage." The panel of screens above their heads light up with dozens of angles. Shota signals to one and Nemuri copies the hand motion on her side. All clear. Nizu leans back in his chair and smirks, plus ultra. Let them go. All for one smiles, blood dripping from his temple. The creatures made of woven flesh and lifeless eyes step back obediently. Nana huffs, breathing too heavily, with Toshinori barely conscious against her side. The man licks his lips. You are simply a shadow of your former self. Old and almost retired, the baton has been passed on. He says, waving a hand towards them. And then we have a hero with the weight of the world on his shoulder and a dying flame. Pathetic. The man with the half-broken face continues with a grunt. He spits another mouthful of blood. We will find the next one, and when we do, the power will be mine. Shota stares wide-eyed as All for One and his Nomus disappear into a swirling portal and the symbol of peace stumbles towards him. Toshinori reaches up with one hand, smiling as he tugs on dyed curls. Shota swallows, All Might. Tell me his name. Toshinori looks at him with a cracked expression, taking in the shade of green in his hair that he dreams of and the lack of circles under his eyes. Please. Shota blinks back tears. His name is Izuku. Now, Nana says, looking at Toshinori. It's his turn. But Shota knows exactly who she's talking about with that look on her face. All Might crumbles to the floor and Nana falls just the same. Within the small amount of time they has known their youngest guest, the trio of preschoolers have only grown closer as they continue their strong vigilance over each other. Inko has seen children bond quickly, but it's never this strong in such a short amount of time. Where Izuku is soft and sweet, Katsuki is loud and brash. Shudo sits between the two like a pillar of stability that is both bold and careful. Rei laughs at her observation one morning as they sips on hot tea and the youngsters eat their breakfast. She smiles. Children always know when they find kindred spirits. Your boys must see that spark in my baby. And they do. Each boy brings out something in the other that makes Inko's heart clench. They inspire greatness in each other, which is the best she could have hoped for. Katsuki has another person to protect and Izuku has a friend who is more patient with him. She mourns the day they will be separated, but it comes as does any other day. Rai's Shinso sweeps into their lives like a well-mannered hurricane one afternoon in tall violet pumps and pinned-up curls. Even her son mimics her confident strut as Detective Tsukachi follows behind, trying to hide a smile. Inko, darling. She purrs. You've provided me one of the most difficult cases I've had in years, but it's always a pleasure to see you. Hitoshi shyly waves and Inko smiles. Hello, Rise. Hitoshi. Izuku and Katsuki stand behind her, Izuku half hidden in her skirt and Katsuki glaring away. Say hello, boys. Inko says softly. Her son waves back, a little more confident, while Katsuki frowns. He gives the lawyer no greeting, immediately stepping forward with, Are you taking Auntie away? Rise drops to a crouch before him as if she wasn't wearing a pencil skirt and heels taller than anything Mitsuki had ever worn. A single perfectly sculpted eyebrow raises. Do you want her to stay? Your house isn't big enough for everyone. Auntie, or even your mother, can get in trouble if they stay too long. Katsuki makes a face that only deepens his frown. But they're safe here with us. Her smile softens and Rise pats his head. You're a sweet one, aren't you? Kaken is amazing. Izuku chimes in and Inko can't help the laugh that bubbles up. Rei descends down the stairs and Rise rises with a grin. We found a 3-bedroom apartment within Todoroki-san's. Conditions. You will be well taken care of. Her expression shifts into something dangerous. I will bleed that man dry until the only thing he has left are his half-butted apologies. Katsuki nods in agreement and Hitoshi giggles when his mother winks down at him. The cat slinks behind Katsuki and copies his pose. If a cat could look any cockier. Unfortunately, while Katsuki got along with Shudo reluctantly, Hitoshi is another story. The two boys fight at every turn while the other two watch with wide eyes. If I hear one more mind-controlling threat out of you, mister. So help me God. Rise raises her voice from the dining table where Rei chuckles. I told you to do as I say and not as I do. Inko only stares down Katsuki, who pouts in return but sits back down quietly. Yet, Katmite claims Hitoshi as his own. He sits in his lap with no consideration while Izuku giggles. This time, Rise leaves behind her personal number. Within a few days, the Todoroki move into an apartment complex across town that once housed allowed only pro-heroes. It's only a 20-minute ride by train and Rei promises to visit often. On the last day, they're sprawled across the new apartment in varying degrees of exhaustion. Fuyumi and Natsuo sniff as they hug Izuku and Bakogu lets himself be hugged half-heartedly. He grumbles under his breath when Dabi ruffles his hair. The oldest boy winks and offers him a single finger, lit with a small blue flame. Katsuki holds up his palm and lets out a flare of fireworks. Izuku throws himself against Shudo and he's already in tears. The youngest Todoroki only pats his back but his eyes are soft. Katsuki copies Dabi and ruffles his hair instead. Inko hugs each of them and from the corner of her eye, she watches Katsuki hug Rei, who passes him a small star-shaped ice. Shota is almost the only thing on her mind by the end of the week when they arrive back home. It's quieter, even her boys realize it as they disappear to shower off the grime of the move. The Midoriya family falls back into their routine. Inko walks them to school again, she has breakfast and dinner done at exactly the right time, and the UA grounds are hers once more. She trains with no remorse, the muscles slowly becoming more obvious and the amount her body can take increases steadily. Inko may not be able to take on a man like Toshinori, but she tricks up her sleeve. Her quirk is quiet and strong, even though the distance is still small. She's a close-range fighter, one way or another. Inko only catches the glimpse of a shadow against a window once. She stands taller, letting her weight settle evenly like Toshinori. She stands like him, like Nana. And her son will stand just as strong, one day. The shadow does not appear again. Shota doesn't call that week, or the next two. Not that it's common for him to call, at least not until the mission is over. But this time, she has a bad feeling. It sinks into her bones and she barely sleeps. It's exactly a month after he leaves that she hears the sound of hushed voices and keys jiggling. Inko peeks into the bedroom across and the boys are asleep. They don't show any signs of waking. The cat does lift his head from Izuku's side before settling back down. She quietly makes her way downstairs and Shota sits, soaked through clothing that don't belong to him, with his back against the backyard door. Sweetheart. Inko drops to her knees. Shota is unresponsive until she presses a hand against his cheek. He blinks at her and smiles. I'm home. Did something? He shakes his head. Namuri dropped me off. The water droplets flicker across the floor and her pajamas. It went to sheet pretty fast, but I'm okay. Inko checks him over, no obvious wounds or scratches as she pulls back. And Torino? Nana? Shota's expression cracks a bit before he can rein in control. Just minor injuries. Mostly to their pride. He tries to smirk but Inko narrows her eyes on him. He hesitates. Nana took a bad hit. Everyone made it out alive, though. She does not demand more. There's something else, on the tip of his tongue, that he does not let himself say. Inko knows that much, but as long as he's back, he's alive, she doesn't care. Inko pulls him into her arms and he shudders. Welcome home, she says with every emotion stored up in her worry. Shota tightens his hold and sobs against her. They don't sleep that night. Nana hisses at Scar and Recovery Girl frowns. You won't be able to use that arm again. The lightning-like scarring is deep, reaching from the wrist to her chest. Any closer and your heart might have given out. I should have died. Nana sighs, turning towards the hospital bed beside hers. The ventilator stutters and Toshinori continues to sleep, unaware. We both should have. The UA walls are covered in plastic, hiding old memories. He left you both alive for a reason. Recovery girl raises an eyebrow, tilting the clipboard back. The flinch makes its way through her whole body. Nana leans forward, resting her forehead against her palm. He needs us to figure out the next one for all user. The nurse plants one last kiss against her bruised forehead. We must keep them safe. Whatever it takes. Nana agrees. Nana doesn't speak, but the glass in her good hand gives out under the pressure. Edshot tries not to flinch at the sound and Nedzu sighs. She stands. So, you're telling me that while we retrieved Tashinori, Sir Night-Eye decided to follow up on a lead with those creatures? Nedzu folds his hands over his knee and nods. One of the signals at the other facility was activated at the same time those creatures arrived to assist all for one. He volunteered to investigate and I allowed it. You did not think to inform me about this? No, he says, you are not the only authority here, Nana. Do not forget you cannot control every piece of this puzzle you're trying so hard to build. You should learn to expect anything. Shota doesn't leave his room and Inko doesn't hold it against him. Something shook him to the core and Nana does not answer her calls. Torino simply tells her it will pass. Inko is left hanging without a real answer and she can't ask again. Shota's expression cracks open the first time, raw and terrified. So, she gives him space. With food left at his door and a single knock, she lets him be. At the very least, it's always empty when she retrieves it. The boys take it the hardest. They perk up at any motion they can detect behind the door, but it's only ever opened enough for the cat to slip out. Katsuki practically takes it personal. He's angry and Izuku's efforts go unnoticed until one night, a few days after. Inko's tucking them into bed and the door across the hall cracks open. The three of them hold their breath and watch as the cat sprints inside before the door closes again. Izuku frowns while Katsuki settles on his side with his back to door. Inko knows his eyes are tearing up from the way his shoulders shake, and she pulls him into her arms. Does Anai-sen hate us? Her son asks. Inko shakes her head. Of course not, sweetie. He loves you. Why doesn't he want to see us then? Katsuki mumbles against her arm, wiping his face with her sleeve. She remembers a half-drunk Mitsuki doing the same motion and kisses his brow. Sometimes, people want to be alone for a little bit. We feel sad or bad things happen and we need time to deal with those feelings. She explains. The boys frown and nod. Inko smiles. Even if someone isn't here, that doesn't mean they don't love you. Shota emerges for breakfast on the morning of the 6th day with dark circles under his eyes and his hair piled messily in a ponytail. But he's dressed in something other than pajamas, which is another victory already. I'll take the brats to school today. He murmurs and Izuku practically explodes with happiness. Katsuki doesn't respond as enthusiastically, but he shovels the eggs into his mouth with new speed. He does pause for a moment to look up at Shota. Did you miss us? How could I not? Shota snorts, ruffling the blonde hair with a fond look. Izuku smiles all teeth. I missed you a lot, thing. Inko chuckles when Shota flushes. Shota, she calls to him and he looks up as Izuku tries to stuff the toast into his mouth. I'm happy to see you again. He smiles, crumbs at the edge of his mouth, and sweeps the kids out the door with a farewell. She holds herself steady. The cat watches her with piercing eyes, which causes her to tense. The back door edges open and Torino slips inside with Nana. Inko takes in the odd way her fist doesn't close and the scars painted up her arm. Nana bows her head. Is he all right? When you said nothing would harm him, I didn't realize you would traumatize him instead. Inko hisses, grabbing the plates from the table and letting them soak in the sink. He may not bear scars like yours, but he wears them nonetheless. Nana's expression grows uncomfortable. I did not anticipate things to go as they did. You will not tell me either. No, she says, honest for the first time in a long time. Inko understands sacrifice. She understands that being a leader means making the hard choices. But Inko understands loyalty more, and she is only loyal to her children. Then we have nothing to discuss. She puts it simply. You wasted your time visiting and you missed the boys if you wanted to see them. Nana offers her a file instead. These are the people I protect, heroes and sidekicks. They are people I offered my services to whether they wanted to flee for hero work outside of Japan or wanted to never be associated with us again. There's too much risk to bring so many names. It's a bluff if Inko has ever seen one, and Masaru bluffed like the best of them. Inko doesn't take the vanilla folder. And no hero is willing to risk themselves too openly. They have our names, our quirks, and any red flag will bring hell to our door. Those of us willing or have nothing left other than our hero names are the only ones left. Nana responds. She waves the folder again. I ask you now, will you do this? No. Nana furrows her eyebrows. You can make a difference this way. Izuku will be safer. Inko's lip curls. I said no. Inko, I want you to trust me. We have drifted from our friendship these past years. I remember Toshinori introducing us with so much love in his eyes, and I want to honor that. Toshinori would want you to be safe, and I can do that. I can move you and the boys to the countryside where you will be comfortable. Nana switches gears quickly and gently responds like she's walking on glass. It rubs Inko the wrong way. She has loved Nana and has immense respect for Toshinori's mentor, but war changes people. Nana isn't the same kind-eyed woman Inko met. You mean to hide Izuku away while you let Shota rampage around without anyone to care for him? The facts are simply we need him more. Nana shrugs. He belongs with us. He's a fighter. Inko raises an eyebrow. I think it's you who's convinced he's a fighter. Shota can do as he likes. If he wants to go be a hero, I would never stop him. But I would never demand anything of him. You're looking at him as if he's just a quirk and not a kid. He's not a kid, Inko. And you shouldn't look at him as one. He's grown up now and doesn't need you to fuss over him. Nana sighs. Torino cuts in with a sharp, Nana. She takes a deep breath. That was out of line. I apologize. Get out. Inko, please. Torino pleads this time. He's soft around the edges and Inko loves him for it, but she draws the line at this. You come into my home and insult me? I may not have given birth to him, but he's my family and I will not allow you to bully him into what you need him to be. Inko growls. I will not obey you without question. I will not let you do as you see fit. This is our home, my children like it here, and we are under no immediate threat. Stubborn woman, won't you do anything to keep Izuku safe? Nana snarls back. Inko presses forward. He's my son. I will do as I see fit to protect him. They'll look for him when they realize Toshinori has passed it on. He might not even be alive at this point without one for all keeping him alive. That pulls at her heart and she only wavers for a moment. Torino places a hand on Nana's arm with a deep frown. Nana, this isn't. Toshinori chooses his path. Inko spits. My only responsibilities are my boys and Shota. This is what I choose. Torino steps in front of Nana in one smooth motion when the table begins to tremble against Inko's quirk. He bows his head lower than ever. I apologize again, Inko. We did not come to argue or offend. Toshinori has disappeared from our radar along with Sir Night Eye. Neither of them would give away vital information on you or the existence of Izuku. But Izuku will eventually begin to grow into one for all and it will leach away at Toshinori's power slowly. As Izuku is not being trained or utilizing this quirk, we have no reason to worry immediately. We wanted to offer you a relocation of sorts to be safer. He ends, head still bowed and one hand holding the table down. Inko lets the tension melt from her shoulders and the trembling stops. She nods. Thank you for the update, Torino. I appreciate it, but the boys deserve a normal life and they like it here. They like being near their friends. No one will look twice at a single mother with 2 children in a city. Where else would we be safer? She's right. Shota adds as he leans against the doorway, spinning his key around his finger. They have a chance at a real life here, no matter what happens with heroes. If things come to it, we will disappear as you recommend. Inko finishes. Torino nods and Nana says nothing. We will keep in touch if anything comes up. He pulls her with him, disappearing out the back door. Inko can't stop herself from dropping into one of the seats and rubs at her temples. I think, Shota starts slowly, we need to talk about Izuku. Namuri pulls herself up with ease. scaling the wall under the guise of midnight. She edges towards the second-story window of Shota's bedroom and taps on the glass. He glares at her from the bed but stands when she presses her face against the glass. He pushes the frame up with a sigh. Do you have to break in like this? What am I supposed to do? Use the front door. She snorts but the knock at the door causes them to freeze. Inko chimes in. There's snacks downstairs if Namuri is hungry. They stare at each other before she bursts out into laughter. Thank you, Inko. Namuri calls. The footsteps fade and her eyes soften as she watches Shota collapse into his bed. She smiles. You really have something good here. I love them. Shota says with his voice muffled against the pillow. Namuri kneels on the comforter and lays beside him, tugging at his oily, unwashed hair. Your roots are showing. Want me to dye it? He nods but doesn't move to get up. So she stays. Shota offers her a hand without looking and she takes it, curling her fingers tight around his. There will be time later to discuss what happened but now, it's time to repair, to mend back together. The bruises against her side ache and his knuckles are dark. They sleep instead.